Hey, it's Tom here at Our Pastime. Welcome. It's been a very long time since you've seen this tractor. It's been a very long time since I've been on this tractor, probably a year and a half since it's even started. I think the last thing I did with this was plow snow, to be honest with you, about 2 years ago. 2 winters ago anyway. Well, we're going to be using this tractor for a project coming up, so I need to get it going. And I thought it'd be a good video to show you what you need to do when you've had a cub that's been sitting for a while, or you have one that you found in a barn that you don't know how long it's been sitting. So first thing I did with this was I hooked my battery charger. I hooked the battery charger up to it and I let it set overnight. If you have the opportunity to do that, that's good. Probably you probably want to check the battery too if you have the ability to bring a battery tester, or think ahead of time to bring a battery tester with you. That's a good idea. I tested this before I hooked the charger up to it, and it was reading just about 7 volts on the battery. And this battery has not been charged or maintained since I shut the tractor off. So the tractor's been sitting here for quite a while. The battery's been charging overnight. It's the afternoon after the night before, so I'm going to see if the starters will kick the engine over. There is no gas in it right now. I did check that out. I checked the oil level already. There's plenty of oil. The oil's still it's not too thin. It's still very has a lot of viscosity left in it, so it's still pretty good. If I was going to be running this tractor for a long period of time, I would change the oil. In fact, I will be changing the oil before I do my project that I have in mind for this coming up. And so that's a few things that you need to do. So the things you need to do: check the battery for charge. If it needs a charge it up. Check the oil level. Check the gas. If you have a tank of gas in there and you don't know how long it's been setting, it might be a good idea to drain it and refill it. That was my intention to do. First thing was, before I even hooked the charger up to it, I was going to drain the old gas out of it and put fresh in it. But I didn't have to do that, since apparently it leaked out over time. I'm not even sure how much. Maybe I ran it dry, I don't remember. But anyway, there is no current fuel at all in this tractor. So let's see if the starter will even kick over. Let's pull out well, first, always shake the hand, make sure it's in neutral. I always like to press the clutch in, even though it's in neutral. And let's see if we have anything with the starter. Nope, the starter still works after 2 years of just sitting here. So that's a good sign. We'll turn that back off. So now let's put some fresh gas in the tractor, see if it will actually start. And all right. So what is the gas tank resting on? Well, it's resting on part of the planter attachment. One thing I've learned about these electronic pumps is you don't want to have the level of the gas higher than the level of the pump, because it will act as a siphon. And even when you shut the pump off, if the gas level is higher than what you're pumping into, it will not stop the siphon action. So always have your fuel level that you're pumping out of lower than the fuel level you're pumping into, for safety's sake. Let's put some fuel in. And I use non-ethanol fuel, just in case I don't get back to the tractor for a while. I don't have to worry about the ethanol building up moisture. And since I'm always going to the gas station, I also use non-ethanol in my truck as well. I don't use my truck more than twice a week to go back and forth to work. 20 miles each way, twice a week. Well, once a week actually. 20 miles to work and 20 miles back from work. I'm a regional truck driver, so I don't put many miles on my truck. I usually only fill up my truck once or twice a month, and then I only put maybe half a tank of gas in my truck, so it doesn't really hurt me to fill it up with non-ethanol fuel. And since my truck sits a long time, I don't like to put ethanol fuel in it, just in case it builds up moisture in that as well. Well, that should be enough for a test. Oop. Oops, always a little bit of leak. Drip, drip. And you can get these electronic pumps right at Harbor Freight for about probably $9 or $10. Maybe they've gone up with inflation to $14. I don't know. I haven't checked the price lately, so. All right, let's see if this thing will start up even with all the cobwebs still on it. Turn on the fuel. There goes fuel in the fuel bowl. All right. Once again, we shake the hand just to be sure. And let's see if it will start. Now let's pull the choke. Sounds pretty good after a couple years. Let's see if it'll start without the choke. Oh, almost. There we go. It never used to use the choke when I was using it more. Let's rev up, turn up the throttle a little bit. Oop, too much too quick. Sounds pretty good. Pretty quiet for no muffler. struggling for gas a little bit. Let me see. It's a little known fact, you can over rev those if you want to. I think it just needs to warm up and run for a while. If you want to see what I was doing, so I think that's a little more than 1800 RPMs when you do that. Sounds pretty good. Not running too hot. About 160. Notice all the cobwebs. We are charging. Let's see if we can see the oil pressure. So as I mentioned, there are just a few things you need to check before you start an old Cub for the first time after many years. Oil, battery, fuel. Two things I forgot to mention. I did check the radiator fluid. That was right up to where it should be. And the other thing I did was I did crank it over a few times with a hand crank just to make sure everything was free and moving freely. Everything was fine. So that's probably another thing you should do when you first come to a Cub. If I was going to check out a Cub for the first time, I would have a tester to test the battery. And extra fuel, extra oil, and radiator fluid, just so I can top off the levels. Maybe a spare can to drain the gas that's already in it. If you know, it doesn't take much, a 3/8 I think it is, or a 1/2 inch. I guess it's a 1/2 inch to disconnect the fuel line from the carburetor. Drain that into a spare can, hook it back up, put some fresh fuel in, give it the best chance you can to get it started. So check the oil, radiator fluid, fresh gas. Make sure the battery's charged. If you've got electric start, hopefully you do. Pull the choke, pull the starter, unless you have a press button starter like my other Cub over here that's hiding behind me. That has a press button start. And there you go, you should be pretty much set to go. These things, as long as the points are good, start right up, just like that. The other problem you might run into is frayed wires. The other Cub I have has frayed wires that give me troubles from time to time, but that's neither here nor there. This one started. This is going to be a rescue Cub because the other Cub I have is stuck. It has the other Cub is the one with the bucket, and lately the starter hasn't worked on that, and I've had to use this crank to get it going. And it conked out on me yesterday with the bucket in the wrong position, so I can't get the crank to crank right without the bucket is in the wrong position, and I can't get a full crank without hitting the bucket. So usually when I shut that off, I make sure the bucket's out as far as it can go so that I can get a good crank on the tractor, on the engine. So that's why I wanted to get this going, is so I can pull the other one out of the way, hopefully get the bucket maneuvered so I can get a good crank on it. I was going to try to put a starter from the Cub sitting over there, but it's a whole different starter with the push button. The other one's the lever pull, and it just doesn't seem like it's going to fit, so I'm probably going to have to order a starter for that. So I'll just keep cranking that one for now, the other one with the bucket, and we'll go from there. So this is Tom with Our Pastime, thanking you for joining me again. Getting my first Cub, my original Cub, going. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and be sure to leave a comment below if you think of other things we should check before starting a Cub that's been sitting for a while, and I will be glad to see your comments. So Tom at Our Pastime, we'll see you again real soon. Like, subscribe, and comment, and tell your friends. We'll see you again real soon. See you later. Bye-bye. And if you can't see, this tractor has been sitting here. There are still cobwebs right here in front of me. For authenticity, I'm not kidding. This tractor has been here in this same location for almost 2 years. All right. The steering wheel's very dusty. Everything's very dusty. All right. All right, let's put some fresh gas in.